Hello and welcome to XGENIA tutorial. Today we are going to build a scrollable list of every country in the world. We'll start by creating a new project and then dive into powerful features like custom functions, reusable prefabs, and the repeater node. Click the green New Project button in the top left corner. When the template screen opens, we'll choose the Hello World template. A pop-up will appear where we need to enter our project name. Let's use World List Countries. And select a folder location for the files. Once we click Create, XGENIA opens our new project in the editor. When you first enter the editor, navigate to the Start Page component. This is your main canvas, which currently contains a default Hello World label. For our first step, we need to create a data source. Right-click on the canvas and search for function. Now we'll add our data. We have a template JavaScript code containing a list of countries. We simply paste it into the function editor. Once pasted, notice the function generates an output. This output now contains the full list of countries that our app will display. Next, let's set up our UI layout. We'll change the screen size to Desktop Small to better visualize the project. We can now delete the default Hello World text to clear our canvas. We need a primary container for our layout, so let's create a group node. In the label field, we'll rename this to Main Group. We can debug this by temporarily changing the background color to see that it fully fills the screen. All right, it's fully filled. Then we'll reset it to transparent. Now, let's create our header group. Create another group and align it as a child of the main group. We will rename this one Header Group. For the header's dimensions, we'll set the height to 5 vertical height and change the layout orientation to horizontal. We can test this by applying a success green background color to verify the header is positioned correctly. Finally, we need a title. Right-click and search for the text node component. We'll add this to our header group. And then change the text to display our application title. Let's name it Country List. Now, let's move on to the country list. We'll start by selecting this text element and changing its alignment to Justify Center. Next, we'll go into the group settings. We need to align and justify the content to Item Center for a professional look. To give the header more impact, we'll change the font family to Roboto Black. You can see the header group taking shape here. With the header set, we need to create the main content area. Right-click, search for Group, and align it within our main group. we'll label this one Group Main Content Page. Now let's adjust the dimensions. We'll set the height to vertical height and give it a value of 95. Next, we'll create a dedicated header for our items. Once again, right-click and search for a group element to start building this section. Once we've added our group, we'll rename it to Group Header Title. Now, let's define the size. We'll adjust the height dimension to 5 vertical height. Using vertical height ensures that our header remains responsive and proportional, regardless of the screen size the app is viewed on. Next, we need to change the layout orientation to horizontal. This is a crucial step because it allows all the title components we're about to add to sit side by side across the top of the page. We'll right-click and select Group. This first group will be dedicated to our country flags, so we'll name it Group Flag. Now, let's add the visual elements. We'll click Text and change the name to Flag. Moving to the flag group settings, we need to switch the layout to horizontal. We'll also set the width to 30% to fit our design grid. Finally, we'll align and justify the content to Item Center. This ensures that the text within the flag container is perfectly centered and ready for the next steps. With our nodes structured, we can save time by duplicating it. We'll copy the group flag and flag nodes, so we have 4 identical columns to work with. Now we just need to update the labels. We'll change the text in the second group to Country Name, and the third group to Capital City. For our final column, we'll update the text label to Country Code and Flag Country. Organization is key in development. Let's go back to our group node and rename each node to match its content. Group Country Name, Group Capital City, and Group Country Code. Now let's copy all the components we've built so far, from the header title down to the final element in our list. Next, we need to create a new prefab. Let's create a visual component and name it Prefab Country. Delete the default group and paste the components we copied earlier. This turns our design into a reusable prefab that we can use across the application. You can find it below the Start page on the left sidebar. Now we'll implement a repeater node. This node allows us to iterate through a list of data and display multiple instances of our prefab. We need to wire the output from our data function to the repeater. Connect the data list output to the items input of the repeater node. Next, select Prefab Country as the template for the repeater. This tells the system which visual component to use for each item in our list. Our country list is now visible, but we need to map the data correctly. Double-click the repeater node to open the prefab settings for further configuration. To read the data from our array, we'll create an object node. We need to configure where the object node gets its data. In the Properties panel, change Get ID From to From Repeater. Now let's define the keys we want to read from our data. We'll add properties for country, capital, country code, and image src. Make sure these names exactly match the keys in your array node. Let's update the flag image. Delete the static placeholder and add a new image component. Wire the image src property from our object node to the source input of the image component to load the flags dynamically. And set the alignment to the center. Connect the country property to the country name text component. Next, connect the capital property to the capital city text component. Finally, wire the country code property to the corresponding text component. This ensures that every item in our repeater correctly displays its specific country data. To polish the layout, let's go back to the Start page. Create a new group. Place it below the country code. And place the repeater as its child component. This gives us better control over how the list behaves within the page layout. To make the list scrollable, set the group height to 90 vertical height. Then click Enable Clip Content and enable Scroll in the properties. Let's uncheck Native Platform Scroll. Now we have a fully functional, scrollable country list right here in our app. Let's test the responsiveness by changing the preview size. As we scale the viewport, you can see that our layout holds up beautifully, and every element remains perfectly visible. Now our list looks a bit crowded, so let's add some breathing room. We'll go into the group header and set a 10-pixel margin on both the top and the bottom. There we go. That looks much better. Adding that padding and margin makes the UI feel professional and easy to read. And that's it. We've covered a lot of ground today. We've learned how to use repeater nodes and prefabs in XGENIA for a simple country list project. Thanks for watching. Get XGENIA for free today at xgenia.ai and start building smarter and faster than ever.